So Rochester University, the majority of the land that now constitutes Rochester University, was originally owned by a gentleman named Lou Maxon, who, to my understanding, was a prominent advertising executive in this area, and this was his estate. Apparently, Mr. Maxon was from the Pacific Northwest, in an area in the country where totem poles are very prominent and very prevalent. And as near as we're able to tell, he brought that totem pole from where he originally came from in the Pacific Northwest and put it on the island in Lake North Centra, and it sat there for a significant amount of the time that he lived on the estate and remained there for a while after this institution acquired the property. Well, the totem pole sort of has an interesting history. There was a president of the university that did not feel good about some of the symbolism and some of what he thought were some of the spiritual connotations of the totem pole. So he actually had it taken down. And there were some concerned alums and some folks who had been here for a long time that sort of grabbed the totem pole after it had been taken down and wanted to preserve it because they were concerned about the history of the institution and what the totem pole had come to have a pretty significant symbolic meaning to a lot of the alums who were here. So they didn't want to see it damaged or destroyed. So they put it away in storage for many, many years. And ultimately, as we began to think about the heritage of the institution and reach out to talk to the indigenous people in the state about the totem pole and try to learn more about it, we brought it out of storage and decided to put it in the new arena. Yes, so as we were thinking about how we should handle the totem pole, one of the things that we thought would be really important was to reach out to the indigenous people in the state of Michigan. We were concerned about cultural appropriation, concerned about the perception that might exist related to cultural appropriation, and we wanted to be very transparent with the indigenous people and the leadership of the indigenous people in Michigan about what we were thinking about and about this artifact and try to learn from them. So we did reach out to them. They were very responsive to us, and ultimately the Intertribal Council of the indigenous people in the state of Michigan, which represents 12 tribal groups in the state of Michigan, sent representatives to the campus, including someone that they describe as a grandmother. This is a very important and honorable figure in their tradition, someone who's responsible for really preserving the traditions and the history related to the indigenous people in this area. And she led a special ceremony dedicating the totem pole and establishing a special relationship between the indigenous people in the state of Michigan and Rochester University. The basket here in front of me is a gift that the Intertribal Council presented to me on that day, on the occasion of the totem pole. This includes the 4 sacred plants to Native American people: sage, tobacco, sweetgrass, and cedar. And it's something that's been very meaningful to me and holds a prominent place in my office since that ceremony. I'll tell you a little secret too. Now it won't be a secret, it'll be out there for all of us, but the ceremony was a smoke ceremony, and the sweetgrass that was used in the smoke ceremony is now placed in the case with the totem pole in the arena. So if you have a sharp eye and you walk by the totem pole, you can see the partially burnt sweetgrass that's remaining in the case from that great ceremony. So we met with them multiple times, talked with them about the totem pole. They were fascinated by it and contacted a contact that they had back in the Pacific Northwest, where the totem pole came from, and got a great accounting of his interpretation. Apparently he's one of the top experts on totems in the United States. Got his interpretation of the history and the meaning of the totem pole. And our discussion was very much about how can we appropriately respect and honor the heritage that the totem pole represents, and how can we appropriately show that honor and respect to the indigenous people who are living in the state of Michigan now. Again, the Intertribal Council was eager to have these conversations. Ultimately, what it led to was a gathering of 15 or so people, many of them from the Intertribal Council, and we were also talking about the mascot, the warrior mascot. And we were really interested in, and it was very important to us to reach out to the indigenous people to make sure that really we were appropriately respecting and honoring not only the meaning of the totem pole, but also the idea of, what's a warrior, and what connotations are associated with that. Actually, and a part of this story is subsequent to our conversations with them about the totem pole. A lot of people have asked, why does your warrior mascot look like a big bird? And the bird is meant to reflect the image that's at the top of the totem pole. And it was our understanding that that was, a connection to the idea of a protector, which is the meaning behind the notion of warrior to the indigenous people. Interestingly, I'd asked Clint Pleasant to try to follow through and make some connections and contact with the tribal council. He was sitting at his computer one day, and a community contact that we had just happened to stroll into his office and asked him what he was up to. And this friend of ours, a man named Don Morelli, pulled his cell phone out of his pocket, and he said, one of my closest friends is a strong advocate for Native American causes in the United States, and is deeply connected with the Intertribal Council of the state of Michigan. A man named Ray St. Clair, who's now come and spoken at chapel. He texted Ray St. Clair at that moment in time. One thing led to another. And the next thing you know, we're having a smoke ceremony in the lobby. And Ray has continued to be a great friend to us. And if you want to really find out some things about advocacy and really some important work being done on behalf of indigenous people, Google Ray St. Clair, Google Native American Ray St. Clair, and you'll see he's walked across the United States with leaders in the indigenous peoples movement in the United States to try to advocate for better resources, for education, for substance abuse treatment, for other kinds of social issues with Native American people. So Ray is a really great friend to us and a really prominent figure. The rest of the story related to the totem pole was that there was a lot, the totem pole was actually cut up. Because the thinking was, and this is something that we learned, there are people who have the conception that somehow a totem pole is idolatrous and that it is somehow related to, and that's not the case at all. It's more of a history lesson and about tradition and legacy, but the presumption that was sort of operating at the time that the totem pole was taken down was that this was an idolatrous symbol, so it was cut up. And Larry Stewart and Garth Pleasant actually fished the remains of the totem pole out of the dumpster after it had been cut up and preserved it. They took it over to Coach Shinsky's house, and it stayed in his garage for a significant amount of time. And then a group of alums from, I think, the 1960s spent a significant amount of money to have it restored to its original condition. So the restored version is the one that's in the trophy case now. The indigenous people, the Intertribal Council leaders that we talked to, got very emotional when they heard some of that story, because this for them is a clear reflection of their heritage, and they felt that, the idea that it would be destroyed they were just aghast at that, and so moved by the fact that now this was preserved. So it became a really meaningful moment and a really meaningful connection with them when we kind of heard that story. So.